back, everyone, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Kevin Hord here.
Lorenzo Phan sitting here.
What's up, buddy?
Not much, man.
So I just decided I am trying to do this vocal thing where when I introduce myself, I don't like go up at the end, where it's like I'm Kevin Hord, and I don't know how it worked. So we'll see.
I'll give this a listen when I edit it, and we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see if I was successful there.
Yeah, I've in listening and doing this, I've been trying to work on my own speech pattern, which is super difficult because it's such an ingrained thing. Mm-hmm. And I notice myself always ending sentences with an extra throwaway word for no reason. So I will finish a statement, and as you are formulating a thought, and I can see you formulating a thought, I will throw in an extra. And that's what I think about Anakin. So
that's probably helpful because I definitely have a stutter step in my approach to language. So
yeah,
helps.
That yeah, another yeah. That's
exactly.
Another throwaway. At work, my boss used to throw in a lot of rights. So he would always ask a question at the end of a statement. So it would be something like, I don't think Anakin is correct in doing this, right?
That's like Canadians, eh?
Yeah. If you watch, have you seen Crazy Rich Asians?
I've seen part of it.
Yeah, they make a bigger point of this. Yeah, they make a bigger point of this in the book because of the way, obviously, a book operates versus a movie. But in the book, there's a little section about Singapore slang, and it explains some slang for people. And one of them is lah, L-A-H. Mm-hmm. And that's a throwaway word that Asian people will throw at the end of sentences, and it doesn't really mean anything. It's different than or like. Mm-hmm. It's seriously just another throwaway something just to conclude your statement, like you're done saying something la, right? So that's exactly how it would operate there.
So is it like putting like an auditory cue as if you are speaking the period at the end of a sentence, la?
Sort of, yeah. The book kind of explains some of that. The book definitely, just go read the book. It's been a while since I read that. It's like towards the beginning of it. And the reason it gets explained is because some of the things he writes, Kevin Kwan, he still writes in either Hokkien or just other, like Mandarin, Cantonese, something.
Right.
So he prefaces some of the slang that gets tossed around, and yeah, he does a much better job explaining it. It only comes up a handful of times in the movie. It's never explained. You really have to listen to it. Where when some characters are speaking back and forth to each other in Hokkien, you'll catch it if you are looking for it. But I'm curious about people just not knowing what's happening at all.
Yeah, I didn't see enough of the movie to comment on that. My wife really liked it.
Good.
And
yeah.
I was super tired, so we put it on,
sure.
and I was kind of in and out.
Right.
So I saw enough that I know what happened in the story, but that's it.
Yeah, but not like the movie. Like
I did not
fully
see the movie.
Right. That makes sense.
Completely. So
anyways, yeah, just trying to work on my own speech pattern. Trying to work on, I know I string a lot of likes together. So
I'm not sure if that is something that I do or not.
Yeah, I got my, even though I was born and raised in Michigan, I have sort of a Valley Girl thing about using like all the time.
Nice. Chica fresa, as the Mexicans would say. Strawberry girl.
Yeah. Anyways, what are we talking about today, good sir?
The Duchess of Mandalore. This is, I guess we could call it part 3 of an unofficial trilogy of Mandalorian episodes.
Very nice.
There's definitely nothing in the Wikipedia-verse and or any of the behind-the-scenes stuff or anything that I've seen that specifically call this a trilogy. But this and the past 2 episodes, Voyage of Temptation and the Mandalore plot, definitely in my mind act as a trilogy. I mean, it goes from one to the next and the next.
Oh yeah. There's certainly an arc that builds over all 3 of these for sure.
Right. Our newsreel this week is just a recap of the last 2 episodes. What is when did this air?
February 12th, 2010.
Perfect. Glad you had that because I did not. 2/12/10. Season 2, episode 14. Production code 216. Aired to 2.16 million viewers. Written by Drew Greenberg and directed by Brian Callan O'Connell. Again, I think he directed last week's episode as well. So, fortune cookie this week is: in war, truth is the first casualty. Did you give any thought to this one?
Yeah. This sounds like a Palpatine thing. You know.
See, I went straight to Padme. Like, after, like, when it popped up and I read it the first time, like, the first thing that I thought of was, this is how democracy dies, with thunderous applause. Yeah. And, like, immediately they were linked together. So, give me your argument for Palpatine.
I feel like Palpatine... So, yes, I agree with you. Padme would say it reactionarily towards an event.
Okay.
I feel like Palpatine would say this prefacing actions. Does that make sense?
Right.
Like, Palpatine wouldn't wait for truth to die before kind of calling this shit out. He would just straight up lay it out there.
Okay.
That's my feeling. I agree Padme is another good choice to attribute this quote.
So this would be like another Calamarian bubble opera speech that he would give to somebody.
Right.
About
exactly.
the casualties of war.
Yeah. Like he would... I could see them saying this like to Dooku.
Okay.
Right. As he's explaining an upcoming plan while he's cloaked as being Sidious.
So do you want to call this a Sidious quote then?
Yeah, maybe more so appropriately Sidious.
Right on.
That's how I personally see it.
I like how we went from Padme to Sidious. I'm
right.
on board. It's all good.
Cool.
So, yeah, like I said, the newsreel is just a recap of the last 2 episodes. So, we already did that. So, go listen to that. 4 hours of podcasting.
Right.
We start the episode proper with Dooku in the flesh. I feel like we haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, it's been quite some time.
So he's talking to a hollow of Pre Vizsla, our good old buddy Jon Favreau. He's recapping his plot to have Death Watch take over Mandalore, which is basically like get the Republic to intercede, and then Death Watch can come in, kick out the Republic, and be the heroes. He adds one caveat to that, and that is that the Duchess needs to be assassinated, so he puts Pre Vizsla on that. We kind of we go from Dooku's perspective over to Pre Vizsla's perspective. Perspective is not really the right word, because
just his side of the call.
Yeah, it's just like a set change. We go exactly his side of the call. Yeah. There's some sort of Mandalorian spy sitting on a ridge, looking down, sees Pre Vizsla talking to Dooku. He takes off, heads back to Mandalore proper, because this was on the moon, of which I do not remember the name. You got that one on the top of your
Concordia?
head? Concordia.
That's Concordia, right?
Perfect. Yeah. Yep. So leaves the moon of Concordia, heads back to, I guess, the capital city of Mandalore. I was reminded again how bleak and ugly the planet is.
Right.
Even like the dome city, like the dome cities of Rhodia are like clear, and like the glass is like ornate, and you can see what's going on, and these just look like gray half bubbles sitting on like a nice bleak landscape. But so he lands and then takes the little tram ride through the tunnel. I didn't go back and check because I didn't have the time to like sync the episodes up together. But at the beginning of the Mandalore plot, when Obi-Wan arrives on planet, he gets out of his ship and he gets on this little tram thing, and it goes through this tunnel, and then it's like an overhead shot of this room with the Pablo Picasso Satine hanging on the wall, and you see him coming in, and then I think there's a shot from like the other end of this open room, and you see the Prime Minister come in through like a set of double doors. Like this spy getting back to Mandalore is like very similar. I can't say it's the exact same, right? But it's definitely mirrored in the way that Obi-Wan arrives.
Right.
So the Prime Minister and the spy are talking back and forth. And so the spy lets Prime Minister dude know that Death Watch's army is basically at the ready. The Prime Minister comments that Republic occupation will make Death Watch look like liberators, so he's re-explaining Dooku's plot. Like, he knows what's coming.
Right.
And he's like, we can't let this happen, you know. So the spy, of course, is like, okay, well, how do we stop him? And the Prime Minister's like, we got to rely on Satine. And then from there, we're going to cut over to Satine, right? Apparently she's at the Senate, and so we get that establishing shot of the Senate. Then we're inside. We got all the Senate and the Senate pods and all the senators and everything. Satine is arguing for Mandalore's neutrality.
Yeah.
Again, and then reasserts herself that they are pacifists. They're not. This is not what the planet wants, and like any involvement is going to just drag them in deeper. So she's like, yo, pump the brakes. We don't need this. We don't want it. We can take care of ourselves. Just let us be. Sheev, of course, disagrees. And then he says that he's got some sort of message that is going to basically convince everybody otherwise. So Masamita puts this disc in, and a holo pops up, which is Deputy Minister Jarek. And in this holo recording, Jarek, who is, I guess, the Deputy Minister of Mandalore, right, is arguing for the need for Republic assistance on Mandalore, saying that Death Watch is growing stronger, like, we can't, Satine had this idea, it's not going to work, we need the Republic to come in, and we can't rely on Satine anymore. She's going to drag us down. So Satine can't believe it, right? She's like, no, this can't be right. He would never put these things on record. These are just lies. Let me talk to him. And she was like, oh, yeah, that would be great, except for he was totally killed this morning in a Death Watch bombing on Kalevala, I think is how you say it.
Yeah. Kalevala.
Yes.
Kalevala, yeah. Kalevala. That's how I would go about that one for sure.
So this is the home world of the Duchess, home world of the new Mandalorians and Senator Tal Merrick. I guess maybe this is in the Mandalore system. I'm not really sure. There's not too much information on it other than that. why that is the home world of all these Mandalorians and Mandalore isn't, your guess is as good as mine.
Yep, I got nothing for you on that because from the episode itself, there's nothing about that I was able to parse out.
Yeah, it's just like a name drop.
So it's weird.
And that's it.
Yeah, it's a really bizarre name drop that kind of gets tossed out there, and
it definitely feels like it's something that we should know about, like a callback to something else where we could be like, oh yeah, like such and such happened there or whatever, but no.
It's just this random name drop. And you're just like, oh, okay, I guess number one, this dude is dead, and it happened there.
Right.
So,
because Sheev wouldn't lie about anything, right?
Never at all.
He uses this. I guess they play like the rest of the hollow or whatever, but Sheev uses this to argue that Republic involvement is exactly what Mandalore needs, and basically says that he's going to put it to a vote. Satine is still trying to insist on neutrality, and Sheev's like, nope, not going to listen to your neutrality nonsense. The Senate will decide the best fate for your planet, and you'll just have to kind of accept it. So, hey, there you go. Everybody will decide for you tomorrow what is best for you.
Right.
So she's pissed. She leaves. She meets up with Obi-Wan. This is outside the actual building, and she's got these guards with her that like pull their sweet staffs on Obi-Wan.
Right.
Like they're gonna attack him or something. I kind of feel like these three guards should have already known who Obi-Wan is based on like the last two episodes. And
I was confused by that as well.
I was also confused by, and maybe you can help me wrap my brain around this, for a government that wants to be neutral and prides themselves on being pacifist, why do they have armed guards like escorting their people around?
Well, there's still for protection, and it doesn't mean that they're going to take lethal means at all times. You know, Satine has that little stunner on her, I guess. So she brings up something similar where, you know, defense isn't against pacifist ideals.
Is that true?
I don't know. I don't fully understand.
What immediately jumps to my head when I hear somebody talking about being a pacifist is Field of Dreams. When Kevin Costner's character goes to meet James Earl Jones's character, and like Kevin Costner just continues to try to like convince Terrence Mann that he needs to come with him. There's this thing they need to do together, and Terrence Mann is getting pissed and like trying to kick him out of his apartment, and Kevin's like not taking no for an answer. So Terrence Mann grabs like a baseball bat or something and like goes to swing at Kevin Costner, and Kevin Costner totally calls him out, and he's like, "You're a pacifist." And Terrence Mann's like, "Fuck, you caught me," and like drops the bat. And then at that point they have like an earnest conversation. But you know, Terrence Mann in Field of Dreams is defending himself and his home, and he's still like, shit, I'm a pacifist, like I can't hit you because that's against my pacifist ideals. So I feel like
I know nothing. It's like likely I know more about the Amish than I know about how people self-identify as pacifists. It also could be like a very personal thing as well. Just
I just feel like this is one of those like muddy scripting things. Like it works because it needs to work like that, because these guys need to be there in like the next scene. Right. But if you really think about it, like, you know, the question arises, would a pacifistic society have armed guards for their government personnel, and I don't think that they would.
I feel like there's still a level of, because like I understand this stance of having at least a defense system.
Okay.
And just having some sort of guard there versus the what were they? The Lurmen, who just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And we're just getting fucking
that's probably
rolled over.
That's probably a way better analogy or comparison than Field of Dreams.
Yeah, the only other more recent, because honestly, Field of Dreams is so old, and I haven't seen it since I was a kid, that movie did not stick with me like it did the rest of pop culture. You know, and then another deeper reach into media is a couple of years ago, Mel Gibson's film Hacksaw Ridge dealt with this topic.
Oh, is that the one with Spider-Man?
Yep, with Andrew Garfield, where he plays a pacifist that still wants to serve his country, so then he joins the army.
And refuses to carry a weapon.
Right.
Didn't he carry a camera instead or some shit?
No, he's the medic.
Oh, that's right.
He joins the army to be a medic, but won't take combat training on religious pacifism grounds.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, this is based on a true story, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, the army has to let him through, and he then proves himself able to help in war efforts without firing a gun.
Yeah, he saved like dozens and dozens and dozens of guys.
Right, yes.
In like that one battle.
In one event.
I liked the story being told in that movie, but I think I'm just not a real big fan of that Andrew Garfield, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm just not a real big fan of his acting style. Because I felt like a lot of times he's just like more chipper than probably would be appropriate in certain situations.
In that movie specifically, or just in general? Both. Because in that movie specifically, there's, to slightly review that movie, Hacksaw Ridge, directed by Mel Gibson, I blamed any issue I had with that movie mostly on the script. The script was oddly saccharine for being a war movie. Like, it had these scenes early on that were a little overly idealistic, I guess.
Yeah, it felt like an after school special or like a Lifetime original movie or something.
Right.
It was weird.
But the hard thing to judge it on is because if you watch real footage of what that guy, whose name I do not know off the top of my head, that's exactly what he talked like. His wife confirmed it. That's exactly what his wife was like. But there's like these early scenes where they're all just like, well, how you doing there, miss? I'm going to take you on a date, and I'm not going to take no for an answer. And
by golly.
Right. And there's just like no subtlety to it. And at first I was just like, why? What is happening? Like, I saw it in a movie theater. I haven't seen it since. So I saw it when it came out. But I just have this memory of just, Andrew Garfield's big smile just pouring across. And then, the battle scenes. And, like I've discussed this movie with other friends who just didn't like the pacifism message as a war movie thing.
Yeah, I was totally cool with that, and I was totally cool with like the actions with what the real life person did and the story behind it, but just like the way that it was presented on screen was just to me was off-putting. It was weird.
Yeah, like I have no issue with the message and how it was told, because the other friend I discussed it with, he just didn't accept it as a thing at all. I'm like, dude, this is a true story. Mm-hmm. He was like, I just don't feel like it's right to push this message of like, I'm like, dude, it's like, it's like from my point of view, another Mel Gibson movie is I don't believe in the word of Christ per se. Like, I'm not religious, right? That's just who I am.
Right.
But Passion of the Christ only works as a movie if I accept Jesus as a character, if that makes sense.
Yes, I understand what you were saying.
Yeah, so by no means does that mean I believe in Jesus per se. But like,
right.
To me, Passion of the Christ is a good movie, right? Or it's like The Exorcist. To go along with The Exorcist, there's a lot of things you have to believe. It doesn't mean that I believe them in real life, right? Or, I don't know, like, even Superman, right? Like, you have to believe a man can fucking fly.
That was the tagline on that documentary back in the day.
I know. You will believe a man can fly in this documentary called Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
Yeah. Well, I mean, by that time, you know, it was proven that Superman could fly. So,
yeah.
You know, that was just another piece of the puzzle of
right.
understanding the man that
so,
can fly.
Anyways, the bigger piece I think that we're kind of circling around here is that is the character consistent? Is Satine consistent? And I think does she set up her own rules that she seems to follow?
Yes.
And I think she does. Whether or not it makes sense completely, I think is a sort of different issue, but I appreciate that she has rules that I can kind of at least latch on to, rather than like, wait, I thought she was this kind of character, and then this happened, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and I would say maybe that's not just like Satine-specific rules, but maybe like kind of the agreed upon ideals of the Mandalorians in general.
Right.
So, but yeah, they kind of marched to the beat of their own drum, and that's what she's been arguing for in the Senate. And then the next thing that happens in the episode is she and Obi-Wan get into a debate.
Yes.
And same thing here, where she's like, no, this is the way that things need to be. This is what I need to do for my people. And the way that you guys are thinking about things and want to approach this situation is not right and is not going to work. And Obi-Wan calls her foolhardy and says that she's rushing into this situation. And they're definitely not getting along. There's words thrown back and forth. He calls her hysterical, and then she's like, well, if more people were hysterical, then maybe the Jedi wouldn't be marching around with laser swords, you know, just trying to fight their way out of every situation.
Right.
Which I thought was pretty appropriate. Like, it was, this was a well-crafted argument, and the way that these two characters play back and forth on each other worked really well.
I agree. The only complaint I have before we carry on, so back to the guards really quickly.
Sure.
So, as the scene begins, Obi-Wan is running up yelling, Satine! Satine, wait, hold up.
Mm-hmm.
And Satine doesn't seem to hear him. The guards don't seem to hear him. Obi-Wan then places a hand on her arm to stop her. She turns around, and her attention is then pulled to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan says, like, the first introduction, right? And is like, hey, Satine, hold on, I just heard what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Then the guards look at Satine, turn around, then get into a defensive position.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sorry, those are some shitty-ass guards. Like, pacifist or not, like, if that was an actual attack, she would have been long dead. Like, an attacker could have just ran up, stabbed her in the back of the throat, and the guards would just be like, what's happening? And then, like, bow staffs go up. So, that was kind of the it didn't destroy the scene or anything. I just, the pacing of it threw me off, and
okay,
it just slightly bothered me. doesn't affect how I viewed the rest of the episode. I just thought,
it's
what
worth
the fuck, guards?
It's worth mentioning for sure.
Yeah, just what the fuck, guards?
Yeah. Whereas, like, I was centered on why there are these guards.
Right.
And you're looking at how these guards function. So there's like a failure on two fronts here.
Right. Yeah. Like, why do the guards exist? And if the guards have to exist, why do they suck at existing?
Right. Well, obviously they're not very good at it, because they're
clearly not.
They're pacifists, man.
Yeah. So they're just not used to it. But I feel like the Lurmen were able to defend themselves more quickly from even a few positions beyond where the fucking Mandalorians are.
Right.
So, anyways, we can carry on. That's just the one thing I wanted to bring up because I just found it very funny.
Yeah, so up next, the argument is pretty much over, so Satine turns to leave. She hops on some speeder, and as she is flying away, we see what can only be assumed is some sort of Death Watch Mandalorian dude. We see a guy in Mandalorian armor. He pulls this little contraption out and, like, hits a button on his thing, on his thumb activated
his
button
little trigger
stick
thing. Yeah.
And it blows like an engine or something.
Yeah.
The pilot of the speeder says that it's the navigation system, and then he's like, it's not specifically said, but the speeder starts to kind of veer out of control.
Mm-hmm.
So it was my understanding that, like, navigation system is what you use for, like, your GPS. Like, if my GPS goes down in my truck at work, I don't, like, veer off the road.
Lose control.
I don't lose control of the truck. I just don't know where I'm going, and I'm using air quotes here.
Right.
Because that's what navigation does. So I think a better term could have been interchanged here. Later,
like
Satine tells Sheev it's word. Like
I agree.
The steering system went down or some shit like that.
Right.
So this pilot's name is Davu. Did you catch that?
Yes. Yeah. And the name is thrown out much later. So they get into, like, this the speeder that they're on loses control, and then
he says that he's gonna, like, try to get close to some landing platform or balcony or some shit, and then the three guards basically grab Satine and just jump out of the speeder,
and they kind of roll towards the platform.
Yeah, I thought this was pretty well done because these three dudes look like they're wiped out, and, like, Satine kind of as they hit, they're rolling with Satine in the middle, and there are guards just kind of dropping off as this
ball of bodies
guard Duchess snowball, like, unfurls, and she comes out basically without a scratch. So kudos to these guys. They're good at their job this time.
Yeah. So it's basically right as they jump off that she yells out, Davu.
Yeah.
Like, Davu, don't, or something like that. And he's just like, go now. And then they jump off.
They bail. Davu smashes into a building. So.
Just straight into a wall. Little explosion happens.
As soon as we meet him, he is gone. Looks like his name is Davu Golek. Golec.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not seeing
Oh, wait, no, that's not Davu. No, that's not Davu. Davu is somebody else.
Oh, that's right.
The pilot's name is, Pilot's
Aramis.
name is Aramis. That's right.
I got ahead of myself.
Yeah. Nope. I saw Davu in my notes too, and I was like, yeah, that's one of the names.
Yeah, totally.
So anyways, moving on. Aramis is dead. We end up in Palpatine's office. Satine tries to tell them that, an attack was made on her life, Palpatine just basically says, no, we're not pressing charges because there's no evidence that anything happened. It could have just been a malfunction in your speeder. She's like, no, it definitely was not an accident. It clearly happened purposefully. Nothing like this could go wrong. And then Maz Ameda is standing there, and he's like, yeah, I agree with Satine. This clearly shows that we need to protect Mandalore better.
Yeah, it must be Death Watch.
Right. Like, it's clearly Death Watch, so we gotta send somebody to handle this because clearly Satine can't fucking handle this bullshit. So she gets basically trampled over in the argument.
Yeah, this happens to her repeatedly where she's like, hey, this is what's happening, and Sheev or somebody else is like, nope, it's this thing. She's like, no, it's not. Like, clearly the evidence is here. Nope. I think the only response to what's happening to you is that the Republic come and take occupation of your planet. Like, that's what's gonna work. She's like, no, that's not. Like, nope. Republic occupation. That's what's gonna work. Question: do you think that Sheev has orchestrated? Like, did he have a meeting with Masamida, and he's like, all right, Amida, Satine is going to come in, and we're going to discuss her crash. And at some point, I need you to pop up and say, yes, you agree, and you think that it's Death Watch, and then we'll tell her that what I wanted to do before we are going to do anyway. Do you think
after this episode entirely, I think Maz Ameda is definitely in on any plan with Palpatine. I think they are definitely working together. There's no way this is conveniently just kind of an opinion that Maz has that he is laying down.
Because I know that, or I think that in canon, like, he is aware that Sheev and Sheevil are the same people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he knows about this kind of end goal to convert the Republic into an empire.
Right.
And obviously he's going to go along with it because he's been the right-hand guy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he knew about the Emperor's hate for all alien species and supreme, you know, human supremacy over all other species. But he was definitely complacent in things that happened along the way, and I'm wondering if this is one of those, or is he just like trying to impress Palpatine, or did Palpatine like coach him, like, hey, at some point, like, bring up Death Watch and then direct it back to me and my plan?
Yeah, like I said, this is too convenient. There had to have been some sort of orchestration here. I don't think Palpatine's one to kind of leave this to chance entirely.
Yeah,
he's going to control as much as he can.
I definitely thought the same thing, so I'm glad we are in agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Once Satine gets shut down again, we got a repeat. She leaves pissed. She runs into Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's concerned. Satine's like, oh, I didn't want you to worry, and snarkily Obi-Wan says, oh, well, you wholeheartedly failed at that.
Right.
I guess trying to have some comic relief, maybe. I'm not really sure.
Well, he's showing that he cares. Satine, for some reason, after the previous scene, was kind of an asshole.
Oh,
honestly.
Yeah. Is it here, or is it earlier that... It's earlier when they first meet up in this episode where he's like, yeah, I'm concerned as a friend. And she goes, yeah, a friend and nothing more.
That's all we are, yeah. Just
and this
friends.
is probably because at the end of the last episode, like, she thought she was going to die, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she confesses her love to Obi-Wan. And then Obi-Wan tries to, like, blow her off. And they have that, like, real great look at each other.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Just sharing some...
There's a knowing glance
facial
back and forth.
magic.
Right.
And he confesses he would have left the Jedi Order, but so there is some deeper feelings there. And then in this episode they meet up and he was like, yeah, I'm just concerned about you as a friend. And she's like, oh, right. Yeah, just a friend. Like, we're not...
But, like, what bothers me about this is, like, take the fucking compliment, right? Like, he's concerned about you.
Uh-huh.
He's concerned about your planet. He's concerned about your political situation.
Mm-hmm.
But whether it's friends or something more, the base level of caring is friend, you know? Like, why are you complaining about that? Why are you butthurt about that, right?
Because she doesn't want to be friends. Like, she wants...
And that's fine if you want something more, but at least just accept the reality that you're in and fucking roll with it. Like, just be an adult about it instead of just like, well, I guess we can't be more than friends, and therefore, even though you're trying to be nice, fuck off, because that's all we are friends. You know, like, it's right? Like, that's just fucking weird.
It makes sense to me.
Right. It's like, I'm sorry, Kevin. Like, we're not married.
Uh-huh.
So, fuck off with you trying to care about my life issues. You know? Like,
yeah, but this is different. This is... it's an unrequited love, right? Like, she loves Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan is like, I loved you too. And then, like, when they're safe,
mm-hmm.
you know, of the immediate threat of death, and basically he's saying he's concerned because, like, the Senate is going to vote against her. Everybody knows it. So she has to do something for her planet, and he's concerned as a friend, like,
mm-hmm.
and she's pissed about it. So, you know, she's like, if things were flip-flopped, you know, if there was a vote for Order 66 and Satine came running up to Obi-Wan, she would be like, I'm concerned about you because I love you. Not like, hey, I'm concerned about you as a friend. Like, this Order 66 thing seems like a bum move, you know, bum maneuver by the Senate. It's going to kind of like render the Jedi obsolete and, you know, kill them all. And that hurts my heart as a friend. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she would give her all to him, and he's not doing that for her, and she's hurt by it. Is he
not, though? Like, is he not?
I don't think he is. Not in the way that she wants him to.
I get not in the way that she wants him to, but again, their life situations are so different now that I think the position he finds himself in,
mm-hmm.
that is the most he can kind of offer at this moment. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Like, I don't think she's being realistic.
She's probably
in
not.
The situation. Yeah. So that's the thing that bothers me about her in this episode, this weird trait of laying down expectations that cannot be met.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to what I was bitching about at the end of Voyage of Temptation, where, like I said at the beginning of this one, this is like an unofficial trilogy of episodes, right?
Right.
The plot of Mandalore, or the Mandalore plot,
mm-hmm.
and then this one,
mm-hmm.
the Duchess of Mandalore, go together really, really well. And then we've got this middle act, if you want to call it that, Voyage of Temptation, that kind of like bends the rules and like throws things out of whack. Like, if that was a really, really good story and I enjoyed it a lot, but it just, if you remove that and you just have like part 1, part 3 and put them together, this scene makes way more sense. And
I will agree with you there. Yeah.
But like sticking this this thing in the center, it just, some things don't line up in the way that they feel or they should feel, and I think that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, like definitely that reveal that Obi-Wan would have left the Jedi Order maybe should have come towards the end, but all the same, I think that helps with the high tension that does exist here.
Okay.
And yet I feel like her reaction all the same is a little beyond considering what she is asking of him. Or she's not really even asking. She's just kind of reactionary towards...
She's like expecting it of him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, yeah, it helps, but I agree 1 and 3 still could have existed without that scene having been placed where we have seen it in this order.
Yeah. Part 2 just kind of it's got a different tone, it's got a different feeling, it's got a different
pacing even, I would say.
Right. So it I don't know how to reiterate this without just repeating myself. Like it is what it is, and it's really good. It just doesn't match. And so it makes things in the other 2 episodes feel weird. And you're like, I don't know. And, maybe if that episode sucked, then, like, these other 2 would be like, oh, that one sucked. Who cares?
Right.
Right. So, moving forward, enter Padme, and she breaks the news that the Senate already voted, and they voted for Republic occupation on Mandalore. Satine is pissed. Because supposedly the vote was like supposed to be tomorrow, but it got bumped up because of the shit that happened because Satine's car crashed. So they're like, all thousands of people in the Senate are like, oh no, Satine's car crashed. Like, we got to resolve this now.
Yeah, what I don't understand there either is that if it's supposedly an accident, why is that cause to push?
It's not.
Yeah. So I get from a story standpoint why this happened. From a storytelling standpoint, that is, I don't get why from an in-universe standpoint
it doesn't make any sense.
Right. So anyways, moving forward.
The way that these scenes are presented, this very well could be like 20 minutes after she left the Senate the first time.
Right. It's very quick.
But either way, Padme's like, yeah, while you were in the meeting with Palpatine, the Senate went ahead and reconvened and voted, and we're coming for you. The Republic is coming for you. So, yep, she's pissed. She leaves again.
This is when we meet Davu. In the following scene.
This is when we meet Davu. So this is where we see the actual surface of... No, that's later. I don't know. We get to outside somehow.
We're outside. We're in the lower levels of Coruscant.
Yep.
Satine is sneaking around. She's got a red cloak on, hood up. She's sneaking around. She meets up with this dude named Davu. He's another Mandalorian.
We do see our buddy Death Watch assassin guy chilling on a balcony with a gigantic rifle.
Yep, looking through a scope towards these 2 figures.
In plain view of everyone.
Everybody. Right.
So Davu gives Satine some disc, right? And he says, you were right, and this is the undoctored hollow video. I think he calls it like the complete video, but it's not like the other one was just like edited down. It was doctored so that the message was different, and we'll find that later. But they're conversing back and forth. Davu gets shot,
like dead center in the chest.
Yep, he's done. Dunzo.
Real quick too, I want to say after my praise of animation in the previous episode. And the rest of this episode has been fine, but the moment Dabu gets shot in the chest,
not good.
The animation on his face is there, I guess is the best way I can put it. Like,
I do feel like you said the same thing when Merrick is stabbed through the back.
Yes.
Last week.
Yes,
so,
it looks similar to that, where the face...
The Mandalorians just have like a shitty death mask, I guess.
Right. They don't know how to die, I guess, right? Like, I don't know how else to put it. But it's all... it's like there's no smoothness to like the oh shit I got shot or oh shit I got stabbed. It's just their face just goes from A to B without too much of that transition in between, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, and I think the in-universe explanation here is because they're pacifist and they're not used to any violence, much less deadly violence.
Know what to do.
So they just don't know what to do.
Right. But what's weird too is, so once it gets, from an animation standpoint, once it gets to final face position, it stays there, and that's the other thing that weirds me out. So Dabu goes from a standing position, gets shot in the chest, face changes, and as he goes down, there's nothing about his face that reacts to, say, the fall. There's no shift in his mouth. His mouth is just agape the whole way down. That's kind of the thing that this one pulled me out of the moment a little bit. The shot that appears on his chest also looks odd. I get that in a children's show, maybe showing a direct shot is weird, but there's something about the animation of the shot hitting him that doesn't look right.
They probably pulled a frame or two out here and there to avoid censorship, would be my guess.
Nope, it's not even that. So you see the shot make contact. You see the shot make contact, and you see a kind of a black burn mark appear on the chest piece. He gets pretty much hit right in the sternum. Now, what's kind of weird is the way you see the bolt disappearing into his chest for about 2 or 3 frames. And this was hard for me to watch or to review on Netflix because you don't quite have frame-by-frame controls per se.
Right.
But I watched it a couple times just because it just looked odd to me, so I kind of wanted to review it a bit. You can see the bolt making contact, but from an animation standpoint, it looks like it's still going through. And I understand that, yes, the bolt is going through him, hence he dies. But
it looks like the bolt is going through like a layer.
Yeah,
like an animation layer as opposed to like penetrating
through a human body, right? So that's kind of like the weird thing. And I was trying to figure out if it was bad animation or if it was animation that was kind of fudged for the audience that would be viewing this for ratings reasons, for like the TVY7 reasons.
Probably.
I feel like it could be a mix of both, honestly, right? So yeah, this is one moment where I was kind of pulled out of the moment because I almost kind of wanted to chuckle off how bad the animation was as this guy got shot.
I think you're right. It could be done by choice though, or necessity.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it could be a mix of both, and I can see it going either way. I don't. Yeah, the hit on the chest I think is one thing, but the face, just whatever's happening on the face, I don't.
Yeah, it's the complete encompassing of this pacifistic ideology that their physical beings just don't know how to interact with such violence. I think is what it is.
I will say I appreciate that he falls forward
instead of being like knocked off his feet backwards.
I do like the idea that these laser bolts don't have mass to them, if that makes sense. Not that any sort of bullet might cause any sort of large reaction. The example, the comic example that I can think of is Django Unchained, when Jamie Foxx shoots Leo DiCaprio's sister, I believe is that character.
Okay.
The Candy sister, and he shoots her from the front, and then she gets whipped back at an angle.
Right.
For no supposed reason, but it's just fucking hilarious, and it works to me just because of how overblown it is. But Mythbusters did do an episode on this where even with the largest bullets they had, that there would be no I forgot what they called it, but like concussive fallback or whatever, you know?
Yeah, it's like it's not
recoil,
mass transfer, but kinetic transfer or something.
Yeah, kinetic transfer, yeah.
Something.
Like there's always this image of people getting shot in the chest with a shotgun and like they blow back into a wall sort of thing.
Or out through the window. And
out through a window.
Off the roof into the horse trough.
Yep, whatever. But Mythbusters showed that even with a massive fucking shotgun that they couldn't get anything to get pelted back, per se. So, yeah, just that detail I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
And with a laser bolt that wouldn't have mass anyways, theoretically.
Well, I mean, light has mass. Photons have mass.
Light, I believe, is massless, though. Hence, it's not.
Photons have mass, and light is made up of photons, though.
I always because
you look that one up. I'm gonna continue on, and then when you get an answer, you tell me that I'm right or I'm not right. So because Davu is shot, the police droids show up. And they immediately want to take Satine into custody.
I'm getting a hard no, by the way.
On mass?
Yeah, photons. The photon is a massless particle.
Well, hey, howdy, hey.
So, yeah, and this is because this is why light has a constant speed to some degree. Yeah, so that's part of that. Like we have the ability to slow down light and all of that stuff. Light is still so mass is not required for gravity. That's the other part of it too. But light itself does not actually have mass. So yeah, so photons have zero mass.
How about that?
Yep, there you go. Carry on. So that was a science question I needed answered right then and there.
Yeah, this is why I am not on a science podcast.
Right. Well, because this is where the never mind. We're gonna move on because we're gonna get into a hole that neither of us are gonna. Because I was gonna bring up because like that's what the M stands for in E equals MC squared. But then
M is mass.
C is
constant.
The constant.
Yeah, C is constant. It's the
and
speed
then
of
E
light.
Is the energy. Yeah.
E is energy. Energy equals mass times the constant speed of light squared.
Right. But because so mass applies to everything else, but that's why C is its own thing. And that's why light is.
Well, that's why M is included in there.
Right, but then that's why the M doesn't apply to light itself. Does that make sense? That's what the C is there for, because like we're counting that as the. I don't know. Some science person's gonna think we're just absolutely bonkers, dumb.
And that's okay.
Possibly.
If you want to school us on the particularities of energy, mass, relativity, whatever it may be, at Not the Nerds on Twitter. Hit me up. Let me know.
Right. Because then that's why energy's on the other side, too, because energy itself doesn't always contain mass.
I mean, it's an equation, so you need things to balance out. It couldn't be like nothing equals this other stuff.
I don't know. Somebody school us, please. Please help me out with this.
Yeah.
I cared long ago when I was possibly going to be an engineer or some other much more boring job.
Got nothing. You know, it does have mass and energy. And
Satine's booty.
Not a constant speed. Oh, did you just say what I think you said?
Right, yes. Huh. But then as soon as I said it, I was like, I had just applied that to like the skinniest goddamn character in this show. One of them.
Many of the characters have skinny limbs and not skinny other parts.
Right. Like her droids. Her droids are a little thick.
Her droids have... they're not made out of straight metal. We'll put it that way.
Anyways, carry on. What were you saying?
There's some curvature.
Where are we at? So dude got shot.
Dude got shot. And I was trying to segue us back into things that have mass, i.e. the police droids that come up.
Right.
They have mass and they have opinions, and they're like, that guy got shot, you're coming with us. And Satine's like, I didn't even kill him. Like, I don't know what's going on. And
so
at some point in time, they do like a face scan identifier, and then they're like announcing to the entire fucking planet, like, there's Satine. So she goes on the run. Death Watch assassin guy, even though he had like a one-shot kill on Davu, she stops a couple times. He fires off multiple shots, and she must be one with the Force or the Matrix or something, because she's dodging some massless blaster fire left and right.
Now, here's what bothers me real quick about this. So we have the police droid. That's fine. We have this situation that is a comedy of errors, per se, because she is holding her little stunner thing. So as soon as Davu gets shot down, she pulls it out because she's like, where'd that shot come from? She's thinking she might have to defend herself. That makes sense. The police droid sees her holding this thing. There's a dude shot, so that makes sense. That is fine. This is all logical to me.
Okay.
She claims that she is not the shooter. That also is logical. She goes on the run. Police droid chases after her because there's no evidence to the contrary. That makes sense. Then she gets shot at, and the police droid is right fucking there.
And still pursues.
Yeah. And still is like, oh no, like, you're definitely the shooter, even though you're getting fucking shot at right now. So, therefore, we must take you in for questioning, or arrest you under suspicion of murder, even though you are claiming that you aren't the shooter. There's another shooter. You were being shot at, but you are the shooter that is doing all of this shooting.
Well, I don't remember the dialogue of the pursuing droids, and be them police or security droids or whatever. Mm-hmm. But once, like, if you're pursuing a suspect that then also gets shot at, you're probably still going to pursue this person to find out maybe what they know about why they're being shot at, right?
Well, it's one thing to bring in somebody for questioning.
Mm-hmm.
Calmly, right? And I understand the logic, like, if you didn't do anything, then why did you run, sort of situation, you know, like, capture, then ask questions. That's also logical in my mind. But there is a line that the robot spits out that is something to the effect of Satine, like, you are suspected of shooting this man.
Mm-hmm. And this is after she has been shot at. Or before?
This happens before, and I believe once more after.
Okay. See, that's where you're right, and I'm not right. Because if the droid is still pursuing based on that logic after the fact, then there's an error in its logic circuits.
Yeah.
Like the
also,
droid should have noticed, like, this lady is being shot at, so yes, we still need to take her into custody and talk to her. But now it's for different reasons.
Right. And so it's not only the police droid thing that's floating around. There's 2 clone troopers that are also, like, they're holding shields too. And
yes, those are like security guards.
Right.
Those are like Coruscant security.
Right. But they're still in pursuit of her, and they also say a few things. And I forgot exactly what they said, but there's a few lines that get spit out.
The lines that I have down for them are when they think that they know where she is, because she like runs down an alley.
Yep.
And then
a speeder
comes out, and one of them's like, hey, we cornered her in an alley. And then he's like, nope, she just took off in a speeder. Cancel that. She's headed to sector IG-44.
Mm-hmm.
And then my question was, did she? And immediately,
you see her peek around the corner.
And she sneaks off.
Right.
Right.
So, it's we'll have to double check. Have we ever seen this police droid before in any other Star Wars media at all?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah. Because, I didn't look it up at either, but the police droid definitely looked like a, what was the name of the robot from Flubber, the Robin Williams remake of Flubber?
Oh,
do you remember
good.
The yellow droid thing that's floating around?
Yeah. I don't remember what it was called, but what I was thinking that they looked like, and that's very accurate. But what I was thinking they looked like is the little alien ships from Batteries Not Included.
I don't remember that at all.
You don't know that movie?
No.
That one's possibly before you were born. That's an 80s one. So you'll have to look up that one. I feel like I've heard of it, but yeah, for sure, the yellow ship in Flubber.
Yep. Her name, if we can give it a gender, because I remember her being. She was voiced by Jodie Benson, who was the voice of Ariel from The Little Mermaid.
Oh, very nice.
But the professor created this robot, and the robot's name was Weebo.
Weebo.
So, yeah. And
that's like
now
Wally's cousin.
Right. Oh my God.
Weebo.
Now I'm just like looking at these pictures of Weebo, and more memories are flooding back, because she had like a top contraption that would lift up, and there was a little screen in there that would just play movie clips or some other weird shit.
Yeah, this is a movie that I saw once. I've probably seen what was the original movie called? Because it wasn't called Flubber.
That one was
not the Nutty Professor. It's
shit.
Anyway, I've probably seen that more.
The Absent-Minded Professor.
The Absent-Minded
Professor. That's right.
I have probably seen the Absent-Minded Professor more than I have seen Flubber. But I definitely saw Flubber one time when it came out. And so my recollection is a bit hazy, but I think you're pretty close on that. And so I just looked up Coruscant Police Droid. And what popped up is a 501Z police / guardian droid. And this is something that looks more like a robotic Bobby from the UK. and is quite comical and looks like it has a metallic mustache and everything. So
and like the cap and everything,
and
the tall hat.
Yep, the tall hat and like the L-shaped billy club deal. It's got that too. So hopefully we'll come to these guys later and be able to talk about them. But to get back to your question, no, I don't remember if we have seen these floaty police droids before or not.
I'm looking that up right now. It does look like this is the first appearance of what is called the police probe.
Probe.
Yeah. So it's a special model of the cam droid, which the cam droid itself has appeared in a bunch of shit. Also, to me personally, the cam droid I mostly see on Star Tours.
Uh-huh.
All over the fucking place. The cam droid is kind of one like the new. Have you been on the old Star Tours?
I have not been on any Star Tours.
So Star Tours is sim ride. You sit in what is a tiny little vessel, I guess. So there's like rows of I don't know, something like 8 to 10 people across, and there's 5 rows deep from front to back, and you have your view through the cockpit windshield, right? In the new version of Star Tours, there's a extra monitor off to the right of the cockpit view, so house view, so house right, and every now and then you'll see stuff that happens either outside or you just get a different view. There's some logic to it where there's always, it's like the other ship is patching in or something, like you're talking to somebody, or you'll see R2 on it or something like that. But on occasion there is a cam droid that will fly out and get like a different vantage point of something that you can see on that monitor.
Right.
Is kind of the logic that has been placed into how you see this shit. So
I think we see cam droids flying around in the Senate chambers themselves also.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. Where that's like if somebody wants to watch the holo and get a closer view rather than looking at a little tiny little tiny dude way off in the distance.
Like when Padme floats out and starts talking to Palpatine. Like a cam droid will come up so that she's close enough to Palpatine that they can actually interact, but then her image from the cam droid is being projected in like each person's little booth also.
Yes. Yep.
And then I believe all of that stuff is recorded for prosperity's sake and being able to archive all things senatorial.
Right. And that makes perfect sense. Now, what's interesting as I'm just here on this page and I'm clicking around Wikipedia for Cam Droid. So yeah, you're correct. It appears in The Phantom Menace. Doesn't appear in any other, does not appear in Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith. So we only see it that one instant that you're bringing to mind right now.
Hot damn.
Yeah, we see it in other Clone War episodes, but yeah. So anyways, so we got a Flubber Weebo cam droid with 2 little lights on it that
police
flicker
lights,
on and
man.
off. Yeah, 2 police lights, red and blue. Anyways, carrying on. So we got to the point where the security and all were being chased off. They chased after a speeder. Satine was not on that speeder. She just sneaks off quietly. She then calls Obi-Wan at this point for help, correct?
No, we got a little cutaway to actual Death Watch and
Oh, that's right.
He gets a report from the assassin. The assassin says he didn't kill her, but he did get this other informant guy. He saw what he thought was like a handoff of something. Pre Vizsla's like, find her. If she has information, she can't get out. So Then we cut over to Dooku, who for some reason is like giving a report to Sheevil. And then he basically gives an update of his plan, so we get to hear the Republic needs to be there so that then the Mandalore or then Death Watch can come in, and then they'll be the Liberators, and I'm going to be in charge of them. So it's like the fifth re-explanation of this plot again. And then he again says, "Oh yeah, and don't worry about Satine. Like, she's being taken care of. I've got Death Watch on it. They got this killer assassin dude. He's gonna take care of her. So no need to worry about that." Then we cut back to the troopers kind of randomly walking around just asking people like, "Hey, have you seen this lady?" And they it's kind of comical because they talk to this Ithorian, and this an Ithorian, by the way, is the classic hammerhead alien from Mos Eisley Cantina. And for those of you that don't know, they have bifurcated mouths, so they have like mouths on either side of their hammerhead neck thing, and then like each mouth has multiple throats. So I don't think they even have the ability to speak basic, but this thing's just like warbling and like growling back at these troopers, and the troopers like, "I don't think he even knows what we're saying. Like, let's go find somebody else to ask." It's just, it's in the background, but it's funny enough.
Yeah, I agree.
This little interaction. But this is where we catch back up to Satine. She calls Obi-Wan for help. Obi-Wan doesn't even doesn't falter, doesn't stutter step, just like, "You need help, I'm there, where you at?" Yeah. This is where we cut to the actual literal surface of Coruscant. So there's this courtyard with like these four big decorative spires, and then in the middle it looks like just this rock sitting on the ground. This is the only remaining surface of Coruscant. So this would have been like the Mount Everest of Coruscant is this little rock sticking out of the middle of this courtyard that's, doesn't look much more than 8 to 10 feet tall at the max. I don't know where I got this information from, but that's totally what it is.
Yeah. I don't know where you got that information either. It's nothing that comes up in the episode, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not obvious watching the episode either.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought that this happened like way later in like season 6. Ryan from Science Sorta, this is the moment that I wanted him to come back on so that he could talk about, this little piece of landmass sticking up out of the citywide planet. Right? So, hey Ryan, sorry, I dropped the ball, and this one snuck up on me, but we'll get you back on at some point in time.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so Death Watch assassin guy is, I don't know, he's back on the prowl. He's got a viewfinder. I don't know where he is right now. Probably on like another balcony. Dude just kind of hangs out on balconies with sniper rifles.
Right.
We also have some police droids wandering around with like a data pad with a picture of Satine on it, doing the whole, have you seen this person? Have you seen this person? Have you seen this person? Obi-Wan spots Satine, and he's like, "Ooh, nice disguise," because they're both the only two people in this area wearing brown robes pulled up over their face.
Right.
Quite conspicuous, but Obi-Wan is impressed with the disguise that she is wearing. She hasn't even like changed clothes, or she hasn't like changed her disguise up at all, right?
I don't think she would have had an opportunity to, though.
I mean, she could have
like bought clothes somewhere, I guess,
or fucking stolen something from somebody, or just ditched the thing, or like tore the bottom half off and like wrapped it around her head like a turban or something. I don't know.
Right.
There could have been something other than like
Because she doesn't have like so. Yeah, because she has like this ornate headdress.
Yeah, that looks like it's like seashells or something. That's not her hair. Yeah, I totally agree with you. But my point is like, if I were involved in some clandestine meeting where I was in a disguise of, like a purple blanket wrapped around my body, in a world that it's okay to just wear blankets around, right? And the person that I am meeting with gets shot, and the cops come up and they're like, we need to talk to you, and I run off in my purple blanket. I would probably ditch the blanket and try to like steal somebody else's blanket, so at least my new blanket was like green or something. Right. Something.
And that makes
tear some holes in it and wear it like a poncho. I don't really know, but something. On the contrary, the picture that the police droids have is like it barely fits her face in the frame,
right?
And it must be like her glamour shot or something for her security badge to get into the Senate. Knowing like these droids should know full well, they should be like, have you seen this person wearing a brown cloak? And they'd be like, yeah, she's right there, man. But the picture that they're showing and what she looks like now don't match. And there's gotta be, I would imagine Coruscant's like a big brother state, right? There's gotta be like tens of millions of fucking security cameras around. So they should be able to get like a live feed download to what her disguise looks like.
Nope.
Just saying.
Not at all.
But yeah, Obi and Satine meet up, and Satine gives Obi-Wan this disc, and with the explicit instructions of delivering it to Padme. Yes, Padme.
Yeah. The reason being that she's concerned that security might confiscate it, or security could be compromised. They both agree that if she tried to deliver this to the Senate, she's going to get caught. She ain't going to make it in. Right.
Therefore, the data is lost with her. So she gives it to Obi-Wan. She also tells Obi-Wan that she's going to turn herself in as a distraction so that he can get into the Senate and get to Padme, so that their plan can move forward. And basically what she wants to happen is to have Padme go back to the Senate and say, no, here's the real info. We made a judgment on false pretenses, so like calling for a revote, I guess.
Right. Or just I don't know.
Yeah, something to interrupt the process of the occupation of Mandalore by the Republic.
Yes.
So at this point, the Death Watch assassin guy throws a thermal detonator. Obi-Wan, I don't know if he sees it or if he just senses it, so he gives Satine a force push, gets her out of the way, tries to get clear. There's an explosion. We got a real nice like ear-ringing effect for the next little bit.
Right.
Just some atmospheric involvement by the viewer, which is nice. They both are down, not down for the count, but get knocked on their asses. Assassin dude jumps down and attacks. He goes for Obi-Wan, right?
No, he goes for Satine.
He goes for Satine.
Yeah,
and
he goes to finish off Satine.
Okay.
Obi-Wan basically runs up really quickly to thwart that plan.
So they have a fight for a little bit, and it kind of goes back and forth. Obi-Wan, I guess you could call it triumphs. He like kicks this Death Watch dude back into a fucking wall or something. I don't know. And then eventually the dude just activates his rocket pack and flies off. So I guess he has decided there's not going to be a quick end to this fight. Better to cut and run and come back and try to finish his mission later would be my guess. Yep. So we cut to the Senate. An establishing shot of the Senate building, and then you just see like one speeder approaching, and it's like a 3-second shot, and then we have like another cut, and it's Satine walking up some random stairs. It's kind of hard to, like, I had to watch this a couple times because I assumed that it was Obi-Wan and the speeder. And then we have Satine, like, walking up some stairs. I'm like, okay, well, where is she? Is she still where they were? But she's not. She's, like, somewhere else. And it looks like she's walking up to the Senate also. Yeah. So maybe they were both in the speeder. Like, this little 3-second shot.
I think they were both in the speeder. Yeah, I think they were both in the speeder. I think they arrived together. And then they make their appearances separately, if that makes sense.
Right. This little 3-second shot of this speeder approach is just confusing. Just cut that and get that out of there. Like, it doesn't help. It just, all it does is like throw a visual wrench in the works of, you know, I mean, we're questioning like who's in it, because
I honestly didn't notice any of it. I just saw the establishing shot because this is a show that depends on establishing shots all the damn time. So my mind was just like, oh, yep, we're back to the Senate. That's all I saw.
Like, we gotta show the outside of the building before we go to the inside of the building.
Exactly. So as soon as I was like, yeah, this is the plan playing out. Got it.
I guess that makes sense. So yeah, Satine turns herself in. This gives Obi-Wan the opportunity to run inside. Once he gets through the door, we cut to like the Senate interior. Sheev is giving this speech about the greatness of the occupation of Mandalore and how wonderful everything is going to be. Padme comes out just floating down on her little donut pod thing, interrupts, and she says that she has information that may change the vote, essentially. Plays the disc. This is Deputy Minister Jarek, same dude, and his speech is similar, but there were certain things changed earlier that in the version that was played by Palpatine. So this is supposedly like the clean version, whereby he does say like Death Watch is growing stronger. He gives his own speech on neutrality. He says we need to reject the Jedi's help. We need to reject the Republic's occupation. And then instead of like throwing Satine under the bus, he says in effect like we need to take her lead and unite Mandalore. Like, we're powerful enough. We've come along as a society, so if Death Watch does try to take over, essentially, we can band together as Mandalorians and defend our planet. We don't need the Jedi. We don't need everybody else. So I think like you see that, and then it's just like a hard cut back to back over to Death Watch, right?
Yes. So that ends. Yep.
We get these alarms that are just blaring like stand down, stand down, stand down, and I was confused is this announcement going out to Death Watch, or is this announcement going out to the Republic troops? Because if it's the Republic troops, they got there hella fast. Because they weren't even supposed... So the vote wasn't even supposed to happen until the next day. And then, like, that got sped up. And then, so the vote got pushed through. And then Padme says that troops are leaving the next morning. Or will be there the next morning or something. So I guess this has been, like, overnight. And this is the following day. And So troops are already there, but why would there be troops around where Death Watch were? I thought they were going to be on Mandalore.
I don't think these troops were Republic troops, though.
So then why is there like a stand down klaxon going off?
I think I agree. When we cut back to this shot too, it's also nighttime and it's really dark, and there's just I've used this term before and I don't know how else to describe it. There's just like a visual cacophony of shit moving around on the screen.
Yeah.
In addition to the cacophony of the fucking klaxons and boots running around and shit like that.
One might call that a commotion.
Right, yes. But because it's followed up by previs and we do see that it is Death Watch, there was just an extra bit of work my mind had to do to notice that this was Death Watch. But I agree with you. I don't know. I was thinking that they were starting to group and organize or something, you know, and they were just getting ready to move, possibly, or something like that. But I agree. I don't know why there's an alarm blazing. Like I could have easily just gone. So previs calls Dooku and starts to complain. I could have just jumped into that, and that would have been fine.
It totally would have made. It might have made even more sense than what we get, because what we get is Padme's playing a home video, and then like pandemonium and like, no, everybody fucking stand down, like, you know, all the way across the galaxy, as opposed to like Padme's playing the video, and then however, you know, Previs got a fucking text message that was like, yo bro, I failed my mission, I didn't kill Satine, and my bad, I'm not really a badass assassin guy, but Padme's got the thing and she's playing the video now, and then
we'll have to, can we reschedule the occupation later? Like,
right. And so Previs knows, like, all right, well, we're fucked right now, so he complains to Dooku, as opposed to this hubbub of whether or not we're arming for a march or not.
Right.
So anyway, Previs calls Dooku, and he's pissed. He calls it unacceptable. He says that he's going to attack anyway. Dooku basically says that's a dumb move. Yeah, you might be able to take the planet, but you're not going to be able to keep it for more than a day without my help. But he's like, don't worry, I have a new plan. And
there's some sort of plan B. Yeah.
Luckily, we don't have to hear what Dooku's plan B is, because if we ever get to that episode to hear plan B, I'm sure he'll tell us like 5 or 6 or 7 times.
Yep.
So then we go back to the Senate. Sheev is talking to Padme, saying basically, now thankfully no occupation is needed. Satine enters in like this dramatic fashion, although I assumed that she was part of this conversation to begin with.
But I don't think she was. Again,
she totally wasn't.
Yeah, the blocking of this scene is a little off. So there's a conversation between Maz Ameda standing next to Palpatine, and on the other side of the conversation is only Padme, Obi-Wan, and Anakin.
Anakin's there?
Yep, Anakin's there. He's just standing there. Doesn't say anything. We get a few surprised looks when so then Satine steps in and is like, I fucking told you, bitches. And then we get like a shot of the 3, Padme, Obi-Wan, and Anakin is over Padme's right shoulder, and he just does one turn with a smirk and is like, hey, there she is.
Yeah, he's giggling to himself. He's like, Obi-Wan's girlfriend.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, he's there. He literally does not say a single word in this episode.
I totally did not see him at all, ever, any time that I watched this episode.
Yep. So Palpatine apologizes to both Satine and Padme, basically, correct?
Yeah, I got that his apology was more directed just to Satine. He even calls her a most loyal servant.
Right.
Which I found weird, because being a person that comes into your Senate and says, I don't want any part of this, I don't want you to have any part of my planet, we are neutral people, stay out of my business, sounds the opposite of a most obedient and loyal servant or whatever. Right. So Sheev is definitely double speaking here, because he's not sorry, he's pissed. Things did not go his way. So I don't know if he's directly being condescending or if he's just throwing the double speak shit out there.
Yeah.
Right.
I think he's just saying shit for sure.
Masamita agrees with him and his sentiment and whatnot. So Padme does this weird thing where she's like, hey, Sheev, Masamita, like, I need you to go in the other room so you can sign some papers so we can, like, start wrapping this whole thing up in some red tape and kind of bog down everything.
She says they have to ratify the decision to not do anything, essentially.
Right.
So ratify is the word she uses.
Yes.
And I also had, like, a head scratch moment as well. Again, from a story standpoint, getting them out of the room makes sense. From an in-universe standpoint, I don't know why that is the explanation.
Because
like, is it
of the... It's like one of those things from the Phantom Menace where it's like, I will have the Senate bogged down in procedure.
Right.
It's like one of those deals. So they have to go and sign, like, because of the overly complicated bureaucracy of like the whole Senate and dealings and goings on and whatnot. They have to go and sign fucking papers and make sure everybody's got their thumbprints in the right spot. I'm saying presumably all of this happened like yesterday to get the clones like loaded up on some ships to fly across the fucking galaxy to overtake a planet that didn't need them, right? So now they're like filing more paperwork to like undo that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
I can make a weird analogy to smoking cigarettes, right? So way back in the day, like 20s, 30s, 40s, right? When cigarettes didn't have filters on them, so that's regardless of the matter. But when you struck that strike anywhere match on the bottom of your shoe, and you tipped your fedora and you lit your dame's cigarette, like when she stopped smoking, the cigarette would go out. Later, there was an additive that was mixed in with the tobacco and or the paper. I don't know which, maybe both, right? And cigarette companies added this to their cigarettes so that if you stopped smoking, the cigarette continued to burn. In the early 2000s, there was another thing that was added to the cigarette to counteract this thing that was added to the cigarette, so cigarettes stopped burning when you stopped smoking. Because, you know, like the whole fall asleep if you're smoking in your bedroom or whatever, and you light your fucking comforter on fire and you burn your house or your apartment down. So it was like, instead of we'll just remove this thing and let things be the way they were, we'll just add something else on top of it.
Right.
And I could totally get into a rant on like the way tax laws work, because it's like, we'll have this thing and then we'll add this thing on top of it, and then we'll add this thing on top of it that counteracts the thing that
right.
we just did. And so that's what's going on with the Senate.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
it is awkward though that she calls it a ratification.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just that it's an action that needs to be ratified.
But it only needs the three of them. Her, the president, and the president's butler.
Right, exactly. So, yeah. Anyway, so it leaves the room for just Satine and Obi-Wan to stay behind.
So does Anakin go with them?
So I believe Anakin also exits the room with Padme.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Because I definitely thought that Satine and Obi-Wan were alone, but I didn't realize that Anakin was there at all.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So, yes, it's Satine and Obi-Wan alone in the room, which, again, from a story standpoint is, I think, necessary and a good thing. But Satine basically is thanking Obi-Wan for helping him. So basically she chills the fuck out from before, what I was complaining about, right?
Yeah, I wrote down that they compliment each other, and then they begin to question who really is behind this entire Mandalore plot, if you will.
Yeah, she lays down a lot of questions, which I appreciate from a character and story standpoint, that is acknowledging very explicitly the mysteries from their point of view, like who is plotting this, why are they plotting it, how are they plotting this, what's the scale of the plot,
right.
So she just lays it all out.
I did really enjoy that she got through all this and was able to like step back and take a breath. Mm-hmm. And she's like, okay, we need to unpack this shit, and then I'm gonna go shower.
Right.
Like, here's everything that's been firing off in my brain for the past a couple of days, I guess, even though it seems like all of these events take place in an afternoon into evening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happens quickly.
Obi-Wan's response is basically, I'm not sure, like, shrug. I don't know. I have no answers for you. But he says, like you said, things are changing. And he says the line between friend and foe is blurred more than ever, especially in this day and age or something like that. And then they both turn to look out the window. I kind of expected them to like hold hands or something, or like a side shoulder embrace or something. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they just kind of turn, stare out the window. It's not even like a sunset or anything. Nope. And we iris in and cue loud music, and that's it.
Loud music. Yep, that's it.
Cool.
Yeah. Easy as that. So, anything else you want to say about this episode? I feel like we've talked a lot about this. We made more navigational side steps than we have lately, per se.
Yeah.
We've kind of been good lately about kind of moving forward, but I feel like this one we've definitely
pumped the brakes
detours
quite a few times. Yes. And I'm okay with that. Shit. I don't think that there's anything specific that I can think of off the top of my head that won't be included in a thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah.
So
let's go right into it.
Forward to that.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and start. I give this one a solid thumbs up. I liked it. I had a lot of complaints at the end of Voyage of Temptation about how Voyage of Temptation fits in with the Mandalore plot, and I felt like Voyage of Temptation like lessened my opinion of the Mandalore plot, and this brings it right back up. Like, it elevates Mandalore plot. So as I was saying earlier, like, part 1 and 3 really fit well together. Part 2 has this weird sidestep that gives me a different feeling as I'm watching it. I do think that these 3 stories could have been melded together a little bit better, and so that, even if we have a change in tone or a change in pacing or whatever, we've got these awkward jumps in how long has it been since these people have seen each other, and why does it seem like these events are happening not simultaneously, but happening one after the other, but the way that the characters are interacting, like here they're like, oh, I love you, I haven't seen you in so long, yada yada yada, I still can't decide about your beard. It covers up too much of your face. And then, like, the next time, it's like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. Like, holy shit, like, I heard what happened. You know, it's just... And I get that these are individual stories. I totally get that. And, you know, I guess this isn't a trilogy. It is a trilogy. It isn't a trilogy. I don't really know. I'll call it a trilogy. I'm okay with that. But moral of the story is it does wrap up pretty nicely. I like that there are questions at the end of this thing. Some people may say that's not an effective way of storytelling, right? You're leaving everything like open-ended, but I enjoy that. Like when you finish the thing that you set out to tell in your story, and that the characters within the story realize that they got through this, but there's more to it than anybody knows, and they're at the conscious level of knowing that this is a bigger thing. I enjoy. So, thumbs up for me.
And this is something I've been saying a lot with these arcs, where this is how television, when done well, should work. Where, to your point, there are bigger questions, there's other mysteries, but the story for this episode is concluded. We are done here.
We are done with it.
There was a problem, the problem got played out, and the problem gets solved. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's other issues, but for this one, this shit's concluded. So to your point of calling it a trilogy or whatever, like, this is just how episodic television should just fucking work, you know?
Right.
And it's one of those weird things I have, and I don't think we've quite explicitly talked about it in this way, but I have the question where, like, in our current modern television storytelling mode, if you look at, like, the Netflix model, because it's all being released at once, and there isn't the mystery of, like, will we get picked up for the back 9 episodes or whatever, right? Netflix just goes, hey, we're going to order one whole season, give us one whole season. So then a writer or a group of writers can sit down and go, okay, we know we're getting 13 episodes. Where do we start? Where do we go? How do we progress? And where does it end? And you can map that shit all out. With a week-to-week series, a writer's room is constantly building upon shit, right? So depending on the writers, depending on the producers, you know, sometimes there can still be a overarching plan. But depending on the show, then, you know, you assign different episodes to different writers, and they come back, and that can form the story in a different way, as well as a actual real year progresses as they are filming this while it's coming out, right?
Right.
So, like, in March, even though a show had started airing in September, you know, they're still shooting episodes in March that are going to air in May, you know. So they know where they are, but they might not know where they're going, sort of thing entirely. Things can change, right?
Right.
On certain fucking shows, actors can even, like, pass away, and you just kind of get caught in this weird fucking zone, right?
Right.
That said, even though this is a show that takes place between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, at least with season 1, it never felt to me like there was any sort of fucking plan whatsoever. Season 2, there's still various arcs. There are separate arcs.
There's bits of plans, but there's not a plan.
There's not one big plan. Yeah. So I do find that question interesting, and we've never quite talked about it, but we have lately been keeping track of writers, which I think is a good
Yes.
idea to keep track of.
Yes.
That all said, I agree with you. I'm going to give a thumbs up to this episode.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I think this episode is definitely entertaining. I don't have as much of an issue as you do with how the episodes fit in with one another. I agree there's a little stiltedness and awkwardness in how they do fit, but if I was watching this week to week, I kind of these details I would have forgotten per se, and goodness knows in about 2 more weeks I will have forgotten them again.
Yeah.
But all in all, this is a very entertaining episode. It's a story that is told well. It's told clearly. There's not too much fluff. It's just all in all done really well.
So would you put our capital B bad guy as Death Watch assassin dude, or Pre Vizsla, or Dooku, or Sheevil?
I would just put Death Watch
in general.
Ooh, yeah, because there's like Senate machinations that could be considered. But for the overall, again, for this story specifically, I would put Death Watch as the main conflict being that somebody's trying to assassinate Satine, and they are failing at it. That's the arc I get overall. So I would consider Death Watch as a whole here as the bad guy for this one.
Okay, I'm down.
Yeah. So, and anything else we gotta talk about before we wrap out?
So we've had quite a long string of our show following the release order of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
But if you remember, kind of when we cracked open season 2 several months ago, we had like season 2 episode 2, season 2 episode 3, and then we jumped like way toward the back end with like 17, 18, 19, and then we went back to 4. So we do we've caught up to other episodes that we've already covered, right?
Yes.
So we're jumping 6 episodes in release order, and this was season 2 episode 14. So next week we're going to season 2 episode 20. That is called Death Trap. This does not ring a bell for me at all.
I got nothing.
So I'm interested to sit down a week from now and talk about Death Trap, because I don't know, I feel like it's going to be full of surprises.
Yep, I got nothing based on that title. Not one I remember whatsoever.
Yeah, not at all. Like we were saying earlier, if you want to school us on some science or, whatever, you can do that. You can do that via email. I almost gave Lindsay's email out, but I should probably give ours. notthenerdspodcast@gmail.com. You can hit me up on Twitter at Not the Nerds. Lorenzo's on Facebook at Not the Nerds Podcast. Shouts out to Lindsay over at Strange Fantasy Music for putting together our opening and closing music. strangefantasymusic@gmail.com. And always thanks to Kevin Warren at They Call Me K-Dub on Twitter for giving this podcast a face, or a couple of them. So, like I said, next week for the Clone Wars is Death Trap. How about a belated Merry Christmas? Christmas was yesterday as of release of this show, so hope you guys got all your presents and things that you wanted, and spent some quality time with your family if you so choose to celebrate that holiday. And I guess next week we're moving into 2019. So next time we talk Clone Wars, it's going to be next year, buddy.
So weird to think about. Look, here's what's weird about this to me more than anything, and this is a weird way to put it.
Sure.
It's really fucking weird to me that 2019, that, you know, even as of this recording, is just over a month away. It's weird that we're entering the year that fucking Galaxy's Edge will actually be open and I can walk around in this thing.
I thought you were going to talk about episode 9.
No, not even fucking episode 9. No. Like, episode 9, yes, is one thing. But just the idea, like, I've seen it. I've seen videos of it. I've seen videos of the progress. I have been visiting Disneyland over the last 3 years, watching them take buildings down. I remember the dirt patch that was there. I remember seeing the shell of a building coming up. And it's weird that this is a real thing that in no more than about 6 or 7 months, I will be able to walk through what is currently 3 separate fenced up holes and just walk right in, or, you know, with 40,000 other people. But, you know, it's just one of those things that, like, it's always been in planning or production, rumor phases, right? And being a Star Wars fan, like, this is different than hearing the news of, like, Pandora at Animal Kingdom, right? Like, oh, that's cool, they're doing Pandora, that's awesome, cool, Pandora. But it's one thing to live distantly from Florida and just know that that's a thing that's happening and it's there, it's been built, it's being built, it's been built, it's open. But to live here in Southern California and see the progress of it over the course of 3 years, where, like, just looking back at April 2016 when they broke ground on this project, like, just thinking about my own fucking life terms of, like, who I was friends with, or, like, what I was doing at, like, where I was at work, and the fact that I hadn't met you yet, you know? Like, this is like a weird existential crisis I have of, like, 2019 is the fucking year that we will get to experience Batuu, Black Spire, new rides, largest expansion in Disneyland history, like, all of it, all at once, you know? So that's kind of the weird crisis I'm having of just, like, framing 2019 as of now, you know? So,
you know, it went from years to next week it'll be months, and then in not too many months it'll be weeks.
It'll be days.
It's upon us, man.
And then I will be in line for hours and hours and hours waiting for this thing to open. So, we'll see. And then surely we will have our report. I will report back on experiences once we get to that point. But, you know, we'll see what else we got.
Yeah, we'll have some good chats about it. But
yeah.
Until then, next week, Death Trap. And I've been Kevin.
Lorenzo here.
These aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Bye-bye.